Hello everyone. In the series of my audio lecture in sociology today, I'll be discussing status and role. Status and role in society. Before we move ahead, we need to understand what are we going to cover. The meaning of status and role in society. We need to understand what does this mean. What is the status of an individual? What is the status of a group? What is a status and a significant role of the individual in the society? If we look at a recognition of the position of an individual in a social system and the authority holds in consequences is the basis of a social system. सामाजिक व्यवस्था में एक इंसान का, एक इंडिविजुअल की जो पोजीशन होती है, जो उसका स्टेटस होता है, जो रोल होता है, वो सामाजिक व्यवस्था को निर्धारण करता है. Status is the position that one holds in a given system. It means the location of the individual within the group. Within the group, what he holds, his place, his social network, and in reciprocal obligations and privileges, duties and rights he holds, that gives the status. And then it comes a role, what role he plays or she plays. Thus, every position, be it your father, your mother, a teacher, an employer, employee, anything, and every role defines a different status. A different status given in this society, whether it is in a primary group or it is in secondary group, which we have already discussed and understood. It is by status differentiation that social positions are defined and distinguished from one another by assigning to each a set of rights and responsibilities. What does that mean? It is the status that differentiates a person to person. The position that differentiates person to person in the social system and the responsibility he holds or she holds. Definition by some sociologists. So let us understand what are the definitions of status and role. R. Linton defines status simply as a position in a social system such as child or parent. Status refers to what a person is, whereas the closely linked notion of roles refers to the behavior expected of people in a status. What Linton says? He says, any person, be it a child or parent, and the person which is due to the status, the behavior what is expected in the society, that is the status and role signifies his position in a social system. The general institutional system, according to Davis, what he says is status is a position in organized and supported by the entire society, spontaneously evolved rather than deliberately created, rooted in the folkways and mores. Now, as the definitions has pointed out, the term status has physical as well as psychological situation. This situation forms certain elements and characteristics. What are these characteristics? Let us understand. Let's understand one by one. Determined by the cultural situation of society, determined only in comparison of the other members. What does this mean? That a status of a person is only relevant if you compare. Why? Somebody is called president and vice president, secretary, mother, father. It is only in comparison. You call father and you call mother because there is a difference in sex. You call president and vice president or secretary because there is a status differentiation, and differentiation only comes because of the comparison. Every individual has to play a certain role in accordance with the status. Meaning thereby, if I'm a father, I have to play a role of a father. If I'm a teacher, I have to play a role of a teacher. If I'm a president, I have to play a role of a president. So that status which is ascribed or it is given to you, you have to play the role accordingly. The status is present in every society, every group. The status in society is divided into various groups. Every status carries with it some prestige and significance. When you call status and designation of that status, that means every status has some prestige and significance. You may call that every status does not have the prestige, but at least has a significance. Right? Now, what are the types of status? Let us understand. One is ascribed status. The other is achieved status. What are the achieved status, ascribed status and achieved status? Status given by birth, right? Status given due to situation in society. Status due to sex, age or financial status. Status given due to social status in family. The status which is given to individual on the basis of situation in society by other members of the society is called ascribed status. Such as status may be given by birth or by placement in a social group. When I am saying by placement in social group, that means you are designating a status to someone in the group. If he is a head of the group, then you are ascribing that status to a person to head that group, and he has to play a role of that status accordingly. Similarly, by birth, you have been given a status of a son. You have been given a status of grandson. You have been given a status of the owner of, future owner of the factory. If I am the owner of the factory as a father, tomorrow when a person is born out of me, my son is automatically become the owner of the factory, which happens in Ambani's. This has happened in Ambani's. Mr. Mukesh Ambani, Alan Ambani, they have been given status as an owner of that group just because his father was holding the status of an owner. So these are the ascribed status. Whereas Narayan Murthy is not due to ascribed, it is achieved status. What does that mean? A status or the position that a person has earned out of his own personal efforts is called achieved status. This status is given by the ability, capacity and the efforts of an individual. Some persons achieve a particular status because if the facility is available to them, but some have to achieve that status as against the odds and difficulties. Mr. Rahul Gandhi, Mr. What you call Mr. Rahul Gandhi has been given a status of a president just because his entire family is carrying that status of the president status in the Congress party. Akhilesh Yadav, he has been president because his father was president. He has not created that party. Rahul Gandhi has not created the party. Those status are given automatically because they are in the hierarchy system of that party. Now, let us understand what is role in sociology. Different stages of role in society. Societies decide what is considered appropriate role behavior for different statuses. For example, in Indian society has the mother status. However, in some societies considered is inappropriate for a mother to assume the role of authority in the family. Other society ascribes lots of power to the status of a mother. In some societies, students are expected to be completely obedient to teachers. But whereas in Western countries or even in American countries, American society, the student role involves asking the direct questions to teachers and even challenging sometimes. So the expectations are different. Role makings are different. Multiple roles are there. Role set, role enactment, role primacy, role model. Now when I am saying that status of a student, and for example, a status of a student in a classroom, attending the class, taking notes and communicating with the teacher, with the professor. Second role could be fellow student, participating in study groups, sharing ideas, quizzing and other students. That means there are two roles, multiple roles of a student also in this society. As an employer, let us understand what a role as an employer somebody has to perform. Right? An employer, for example, he is acting in a warehouse. He is controlling a warehouse. He is also controlling the production facilities in the factory. He is labeling. He is guiding the labeling products, restocking shelves, etc., etc. Also, a customer service, answering the questions, solving the problem, researching information, and social networking, creating a network, creating a new market. So different role as an employer, but of the same employer has a role in a family, as a father, as a husband, as a son. So these are the multiple roles. A club president, for example, club president is also has an administrative role, running the club meetings, delegating tasks, but role number 2 could be distributing certain figures, answering questions, planning community volunteer activities. At any given time, the individual described above roles can also occupy the statuses of the athlete, a member of other groups, depending upon the settings, which each of those roles changes the status. The individual plays a different roles and different status. So the status is also different. At home and in the factory, statuses are different, and the roles are also different. That is how the beginning, and it gives a birth of role conflict. Role conflict results from the competing demands of two or more roles that arises due to playing a different role and different statuses. The more statuses we have, and the more role we have to play, and the more roles and likely to be a conflict between the roles. For example, a member of an industrialized society, generally what he does, a busy person who works in the factory, who works in the office, he has to be 9 o'clock in the morning in the office to discharge certain duties, to take care of the production, the machine at 8 o'clock and 9 o'clock. Whereas his son is sick at home, he has to take him to the doctor. The roles are different, the statuses are different. At home, he is a father, and in the factory, he is a production manager. And there, the conflict of role starts. However, we are not going to discuss the conflict situations of role, because that's another topic. That's another video probably I'll be more comfortable to give, because that's a long way to discuss on. Examples of roles. For example, father, student, teacher, employees, employer, and politicians. All these are roles of a person at different statuses in a society. Hopefully I made it clear. Hopefully I could explain the status and role, the conflict between the role and statuses, types of status, and a different roles one has to play, a multiple role, etc. If you like that, please do subscribe. Please do not forget to subscribe as you will be getting furthermore videos on sociology on different topics. Once again, thank you very much.